Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 197th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Rebel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing splendid, Cam. How are you?
I'm doing well. I always say alongside, but I'm actually across from you.
That's true.
Should I start saying across from?
No, I think alongside is just, a nice teamwork word.
Yeah. That's true. It was never meant to be like taken literally, like a physical.
Do you think we should argue more?
On the
show, yeah.
On the show or just like in general?
Well, maybe both.
No.
Okay.
Neither.
Okay, then keep saying alongside.
You disagree?
I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes
we could argue about whether we should argue or not.
Yeah, sometimes you have some really bad takes. I just want to...
Let me know. Let me know next time we hear one, I guess.
I'm just joking.
Kyle, there's a big announcement. There was a big announcement. Big news.
I thought you were about to make one.
No, it's already happened. Isiaih Mosley is going to be a Missouri Tiger. We have a lot of thoughts on that, obviously, so we'll get to that in a little bit. We're also going to talk about football recruiting. There's some new rankings that were released. Before we do any of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review, leave us a like or a comment, all that kind of stuff that people say. And you can support the podcast through Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Kyle, have you been watching any of the NBA Finals?
No, I've actually been watching more hockey.
Really?
Yeah, my wife's family is from New York. They're big Rangers fans. So I've been watching every Rangers game.
What part of New York are they from?
Long Island.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's so exotic.
But yeah.
I have some family from Buffalo, New York.
I've been to Buffalo
Toronto
as well.
area.
Yeah. Cool state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. How have you enjoyed your time watching hockey?
It's been fine. It's been pretty entertaining.
I was looking at the NBA Finals rosters, and the Celtics roster just is full of familiar faces. Let me pull it up. Obviously, Jason Tatum.
Right. He's pretty notable.
But a lot of their younger players, who was the center for Texas A&M? Robert Williams.
Okay.
He starts for them.
That's pretty surprising.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown, obviously, played for Konzo.
Konzo's the best recruit of his entire career.
Yep. He starts, plays a ton, one of their best players. Who else off the bench? Grant Williams from Tennessee. He's like their sixth man.
Yeah, I remember seeing something about that, actually. That was shocking to me.
Yeah.
I didn't think you would be a very good NBA player.
Proved you wrong.
Yeah, he sure did.
The series itself has been kind of boring. It's like been kind of blowouts either way. Celtics are up 2-1, I think. Hard to beat Steph Curry and the Warriors, though. Okay, you ready to talk about this Isiaih Mosley? No, we're going to save that. That's the meat of the show. Let's talk about football recruiting first.
What do you have against football?
Well, this is not quite as noteworthy. Rivals came out with their updated top 250 and some Mizzou-related recruits, guys that Mizzou is in on, and just players from the state of Missouri. Some got nice little bumps, some dropped a little bit. Were there any in particular that caught your eye?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the time of year where if you follow football recruiting whatsoever, it's definitely that time of year where you want to start kind of familiarizing yourself with these names. You're going to start hearing them a lot, whether it's on this podcast or just other various places online. If you follow Mizzou whatsoever, you're going to be hearing these names a lot. So Missouri's in on a lot of guys that are in the Rivals 250, and honestly, that's I don't know. I don't know if it's this many guys always, but wanted to hit on some significant names for sure. There's a Mizzou commit on this list, and that's where we'll start. So that is Brett Norfleet. He's tight end. He is just sneaking in the 250 at 249. I think he was previously like 239. Definitely has had some attention from some big schools maybe a few months ago. kind of thought his commitment could be in jeopardy a little bit, but he stayed strong. Still a long way to go on that, but it seems like that maybe is that those concerns may be behind us a little bit. The highest name on this list by far that we're going to talk about is Samuel Mpemba, and he's a defensive end, and he came in at 3rd overall. So, yeah, 5-star player that Missouri has been heavily involved with. He's visited several times. I still just can't possibly imagine Missouri has a real shot here. He seems to really like Missouri, but everybody you can possibly imagine is on him.
Yeah, and he seems to like whichever place he's been visiting recently. He posts a lot on Instagram and Twitter every time he goes on a visit, which is cool. And it seems like Miami is one of the top teams, but I think Notre Dame is going to be the team to beat.
Right.
Which is a shame, but you never know.
Yeah, we were talking about him a little while ago before we started the show. Like, he looks like he could be in the NFL right now. He's like a probably 17-year-old kid, and he is just he's big. Yeah,
he's listed at 6'4", 245, and he is just insanely muscular. And he just until recently he was listed as an athlete. Like it was kind of a little bit undecided if he would play offense or defense in college.
Could probably easily play both.
Yeah. He would be a monster of a tight end. And I just saw a clip of him just a couple days ago, like snagging a one-handed touchdown with 2 defenders on him in some kind of 7-on-7 type drill. Yeah, just incredible athlete. But, if you're looking at a big career in the pros, you see the type of money that pass rushers make at the next level, then the next level, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to Chandavian Bradley, is a defensive end, and he is ranked 32nd. And Caden Green, offensive tackle. I mean, we've been talking about Caden Green for probably a year on this podcast, maybe one of the longest standing recruits we've been talking about from this class. He's ranked 34th overall. He's making his college decision next month, and Missouri's going to be right there in the mix, and they're getting the last visit for Caden Green on June 24th. I think he'll be on campus. So he's taking a visit to Oklahoma, which seems like probably the favorite to land him at this point. He'll take an official to Michigan at some point this month, and I think there's one other school that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I'll probably think of it at some point. But Missouri's going to get his last official visit before he makes his decision. That could be significant. That might not be. But definitely, I'm sure a lot of you guys probably know Caden Green pretty well at this point.
We know him well.
We know him quite well, yes.
On a personal level.
Mm-hmm. Offensive tackle, Logan Reichert. Same thing. We've been talking about him for a long time. He's 84th in the Rivals 250. Definitely seems like Missouri's the favorite in his recruitment at this point, and probably has been for a little while. But they're going to, like all of these guys, they're going to have to fight off some serious competition to land any of these guys. So Miles McVay is yet another offensive tackle. He's ranked 102nd. He had a little bit of a dip in the rankings. I think he was ranked like 50-something beforehand. And so I was a little surprised to see him take a dip, because I think he's performed well in some camps he's been at and stuff like that. So I'm not really sure. Don't really have a good explanation for why he dropped 50 spots or so, but still a really exciting recruit that I think Missouri is probably the favorite for McVay at this point as well.
Who were the teams that you said, Caden Green? Who did you say was
Oklahoma, Michigan, Missouri, and then there's one other.
Nebraska.
Is it Nebraska?
I think so.
Interesting. Okay. Well, producer Cam's probably happy about that, right? Yeah.
Don't bring it up.
I don't want to talk about it. Okay, I'm going to attempt this name here.
You got it.
Coming in at 116th in the Rivals 250 from North Kansas City is Adepoju Adebawore.
That's it.
Defensive end. And probably the biggest riser of anybody that Missouri is involved with right now, from last Rivals 250 update to this one, is Jeremiah Love, who is a running back from CBC in St. Louis. He was previously unranked. Now he is 49th in the country on Rivals. So that is a massive jump. And, early on, I would have said Missouri was probably the favorite, maybe still are the favorite, but man, everybody's in on him now. So he can probably go anywhere he wants at this point, and is a great running back prospect, really balanced So that's a name that you will probably be hearing about a lot. And then lastly, the last guy I want to talk about was offensive linebacker. I said that earlier. Offensive linebacker. That's a new position.
We just invented that position.
That's a new position they're thinking about adding now in college football, is an offensive linebacker.
That's like a fullback.
Yeah, basically, yeah, pretty much is. No, actually, this guy's going to be playing defensive linebacker.
Okay.
Outside linebacker is what that O stands for. And that's D. Creighton, and he's ranked one. I got to keep it together, man.
Okay, you got this.
He's ranked 135th in the Rivals 250. That's D. Creighton. He's going to be playing defensive linebacker.
I just love the fact that you saw that OL there, and just like offensive line comes to mind.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Should have I could have just written linebacker, like LB. That would have been just fine.
Trendavian Bradley, 24/7 Sports, seems to think it's between Tennessee and USC right now.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Missouri's out of that one. I think he has been on campus pretty recently, though.
Man, I'm seeing a lot of Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's the kind of the thing with this class. It's Missouri's in on a lot of talent, but may not land quite as much in-state kind of regional guys as they have the last two classes. But you never know, and
I mean, does it worry you at all? Like, we've talked before about Coach Drinkwitz doing well in-state and even like grabbing 4 stars from other states, which was kind of never, not something that Missouri usually does. And here we are with another pretty loaded in-state group of players, and it doesn't look great for Mizzou with a lot of them.
You're right. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm worried yet. It's still, you kind of have to zoom out a little bit and look at, who do we have already committed? We have a 4-star quarterback out of state, Jabari Johnson, which landing a 4-star quarterback out of state, we've talked about how rare that is. That happened with Sam Horn already. So Coach Drinkwitz has shown that he's able to land talent from outside the state. Brett Norfleet, 4-star tight end. We still do have a great start to this class so far with some
Lang, in-state guy.
Yes, exactly. Some 4-star talented guys already. And not only has, I think, this staff shown that they can go out and get the highly rated guy, I think they will have also shown that they're not going to be outworked, and they'll turn over every stone and find any in they can get with anybody out there. So
and they're not going to give up on any of these guys either.
Right.
We've seen that. We've seen them flip guys or
definitely
a random decommitment, and then boom, Missouri's the number 1 team.
Right. Yeah. It's early June, and these guys could commit somewhere else. Saw that with Luther Burden, obviously. It's not over till it's over.
Yeah, of course. The whole DJ Wesselak thing, like not in the top 15, but then we come around and get him.
Exactly.
I think, I don't know, I'm just anticipating a lot of fans seeing a missed opportunity here, and it's probably a good thing that probably the athletic department learned their lesson. They're not exactly hyping up this in-state class with any monikers like Tiger 10 or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a lesson learned.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to switch gears here and talk about basketball because we got the biggest impact transfer yet of the offseason, Isiaih Mosley. He's going to be a true son after all. Nobody thought it would happen, honestly.
No.
And he obviously, who Isiaih Mosley is, originally from Columbia, Missouri, went to Rockbridge High School, won the Class 5 state championship here in Springfield.
We watched it.
Beat Caleb Love's CBC team. Love was a junior at that time, and Conzo Martin and the Missouri basketball staff wasn't really interested. They weren't really interested in Mosley or Harris or Jamonta Black. And that Mosley's performance in his time at Missouri State made that a huge issue for Conzo.
Yeah.
It was, you could not
that was like
avoid it.
A ghost almost.
Yeah.
Just haunting.
It
was just one of those misses that we've talked about. Those in-state misses that were just haunting the Conzo Martin era the whole time he was here.
And for him to just be down here in Springfield doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
Even against, top 25 Loyola Chicago,
Right.
Against Oklahoma in the NIT.
Yeah, some of his best games came in those moments where he had to score. Back against the wall. One game in particular against Northern Iowa, he dropped like 40-something point, 43, I believe. And, yeah, he just, against good competition, he was still able to get it done.
He had a stretch this past season, so his junior season, where he scored 27, 43, 41, 39, 43, 42. Sorry, I was reading the wrong stat.
I was going to say, wow, that's amazing.
It's close to that good. Okay, let me try again. 43, 33, 32, 24, 40, 25 in consecutive games.
Yeah.
He was the KenPom MVP in all of those games. Missouri State won 4 out of those 6.
Do you have KenPom pulled up by any chance? Do you know what his offensive rating was for this past season? Offensive efficiency?
It was 113.9.
Yeah.
I
almost thought it could be higher, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
lack of
that's
assists.
still, yeah, I guess so. His assist rate in conference play wasn't terrible. 13th highest in the conference. Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. He had a 50-40-90 season, which you may have already heard about this, but if you haven't, 50% shooting from the field, 40% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. He was just the 12th Division I player to do that since individual shooting statistics were widely recorded, not that long ago, actually, 92-93 season.
Yeah.
But still, basically, in our entire lives, there's only been, he was the 12th player to ever have those shooting splits.
Yeah.
And he was doing it at an insanely high usage rate.
Right.
38th most possessions in the country, 3rd in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, to be able to have the efficiency and the percentages that he had at the usage that he was playing at is just unreal. And I don't know. You know, I like you said, we live in Springfield. I've probably watched Isiaih Mosley play 100 times. He just has this unique skill set where he's not the most athletic guy on the court. He's not he doesn't play super fast, but he just has this unbelievable creativity and kind of smoothness to his game where he will just he won't necessarily just drive around you, but he just has these creative moves where he's kind of able to get guys off balance, able to get them to jump up in the air on pump fakes and stuff like that. He can score at every level. Mm-hmm. He has kind of this James Harden step back where it's unguardable.
Right.
And he's just a walking bucket. And he's the kind of player that I don't know that Missouri has had in years, where he's just a deadly scorer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to probably just be completely blanking on somebody, but we haven't had somebody who can create their own shot as well as he can and make the shot. I feel like you don't have to go too far back to find somebody like Pinson, Xavier Pinson. He could do some things with the ball, and he was shifty enough and athletic enough to make an opportunity for himself. He just didn't convert it enough, honestly.
Right. Yeah, he's kind of silky in that way that Pinson was.
Right.
But he's bigger and converts.
And Drew Smith had a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
But he was not nearly the kind of offensive scorer.
No. I literally feel like a healthy MPJ was probably a better scorer, but might be the only guy I can think of since Denman. Yeah,
and yeah, even Marcus Denman, he had a little bit of a spot-up shooter role. Now, he could create for himself too, but not with the kind of dribble moves and spins and pump fakes and stuff that Mosley has.
Truly elite, what Mosley's able to do. And man, it's just like I said, it's almost unexplainable just watching him play. You just blink and he's got 25 points. It just is unbelievable how he does it. And
he's good at getting to the free throw line, and then he makes 90% of his free throws.
Right. Yeah, I think Missouri State had an NIT game this past year against Oklahoma, and he had like 20 points in the first half or something. Like he was just scoring at will.
Yeah, and he averaged 6 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a huge get for Coach Gates. I mean, it was rumored. Okay, so to go through the timeline a little bit here, he announced that he was going to enter his name in the NBA draft, and then I can't remember exactly if there was a transfer announcement at that time, but
came a little later.
Yeah, so a little bit after that, he announced that he was transferring or entering his name in the portal, and it was pretty much assumed that he would go to Kansas. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. We joked about it on air. Like, that's what a nightmare.
Made all the sense in the world.
Yeah, of course this is going to happen. He's going to go to Kansas. He's going to come to
return
Mizzou Arena next year and torch us, and everybody will laugh at us. They will all laugh at you. And
it was another one of those stories where the hometown kid comes back on another team and torches us, just like you said. Yeah, it was just, I was already ready for that.
Yeah, that made all the sense in the world. Thank goodness we're avoiding that, honestly. Like, there's a part of his commitment that's just like, holy crap, I'm so happy he didn't go to Kansas.
Yeah.
But I started to think, like, something doesn't seem...
Duke was involved at one point?
Yeah. But then that quickly turned into Mississippi State.
Yeah.
He visited Mississippi State. They seemed like they were going to be the destination.
Yeah, they were all in.
Which, going from, Kansas and, like, Duke being mentioned to Mississippi State.
Yeah, it's like you might almost just stay at Missouri State if you're going to go to Mississippi State.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what went into that, but that fell apart. And then all of a sudden there was a little bit of speculation that Mizzou might not be out of it completely.
Yeah, it was just like a prolonged silence where nothing was really happening. I never really heard a concrete he's withdrawing from the NBA draft process announcement. It was really pretty silent until there was Missouri. There was rumors about Missouri being back in the picture, and it kind of came down to a final 2 of Mississippi State and Missouri, and I don't know. I'm not really sure what happened behind the scenes. I'm shocked he didn't end up at Kansas.
Yeah, especially with the departures that they had. Oh well, we don't have to think about it anymore. We avoided that nightmare.
Yeah.
So, you plug him right into the starting lineup.
Right.
And you build the offense around him. And he may not have the kind of usage that he had at Missouri State with a little bit better pieces around him potentially. I mean, Missouri State had starters from that team last year that transferred down a level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the team was basically 2 players doing everything at Missouri State last year.
Yeah. This is very exciting. I don't want to overhype it. Like, I'm worried about overhyping it and thinking he's going to come here and average 23 points per game or something, which that's probably not going to happen.
No, I don't think it will.
We're looking at probably, I don't know, 16 points per game.
You're right. I mean, it's like...
we're looking at potentially first team all SEC type of season.
Right.
That's there.
Yeah, you never know what he's going to do on a consistent basis. This is going to be a step up for him competition-wise, night in and night out, but you're looking at a guy that will easily have the ability to score 30-plus points in any given game. And probably will a few times. And I don't think his usage will be as high, and it probably shouldn't be. It was almost an unhealthy amount, at a certain point last season at Missouri State. But
he wasn't off very often, though.
I know.
I mean, his true shooting percentage was 61%.
Yeah.
You let that guy keep shooting.
Yeah, you might as well. So it's going to be, it'd be really fascinating to see what his role is on Missouri's team and how they kind of complement him. But I do agree with you. He's kind of the primary piece of the offense at this point.
Last year, so Mosley's offensive rating was 113.9. The best offensive rating on Missouri's team last year was from Ronnie DeGray, believe it or not, at 110. Kobe Brown was at 105. keep in mind 100 is average. We had 3 players that were over 100. Kobe, Ronnie DeGray, and Trevin Brazil.
What was Anton Brookshire? Like 75?
64.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to single anybody out there.
The team's best true shooting percentage came from Trevin Brazil at 59. Kobe's was 55. Brazil was doing this with like barely any usage at all.
Mm-hmm.
And Mosley's out here 38th most possessions used in the nation and a true shooting percentage of 61%. So that's, if you don't know, that factors in 3-point shots as it weights those higher than a 2-pointer.
A couple of game winners too.
Yeah, against Bradley
Yep.
at the buzzer.
Mm-hmm. It's clutch.
Go watch his highlights if you
Yeah.
haven't. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah, just watch what he does when he gets the ball at like the top of the key. It's like everybody knows what he's going to do something, but it's like there's nothing we can do. He will do some kind of move you haven't seen yet, and you'll be up in the air, and before you know it, and he's got you off guard.
Teams were throwing a double team at him. He would just kind of dribble out of the double team and reset himself a little bit and then go back in and attack.
Yep. It's unstoppable. Yeah, it's exciting because it just fits such a desperate need that we've been asking for. And he's gonna play one season. He's not coming back for a second season. I wouldn't think. I think he even said something recently like, it'll be nice to play my last year at Mizzou. He's playing 1 year and he's gonna maximize it. But he fits a role in our team that we're so desperate for and have wanted to see for years now. And I think that's just what makes it extra special. And knowing he's the hometown kid, he said something like he grew up watching Jordan Clarkson and Marcus Denman and stuff, and so it just made sense for him to come home. So it's great, man. And I mean, not only is he gonna hopefully come in and provide that scoring threat that we're so desperate for, but he's gonna go get drafted and represent Missouri in the NBA.
So he put his name in the NBA draft this year, and I think he was kind of considered a fringe draft choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get people too terribly excited. I could see a path where he's kind of in the same boat next year, and it's the choices between playing overseas or in the G League versus whatever financial opportunity is in Columbia still.
Sure. It's not, I don't want to say it's impossible. It's unlikely he comes back, but hey, that's no really any reason to write that off at this point.
Yeah. Plan on it being a one season thing.
Plan on it being one season.
If we get more than that, that'd be great.
Right. I mean, what's his ceiling draft stock wise? You probably have a better grip on that than I do. Maybe NBA wise, does he have a chance to sneak in that first round?
He would have to do something really special next year. He would have to repeat. He would have to have the type of season he had in the Missouri Valley. He would have to do that again in the SEC and be like SEC Player of the Year type of player.
What's holding him back? Just like physical attributes, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe a little undersized.
Yeah, his athleticism isn't quite there for the NBA. He still does have kind of a goofy shot. It goes in.
Yeah.
It looks good, but it's not. It's just slightly unorthodox.
Maybe some slight defensive concerns.
Yeah, potentially, but. Well, that's not going to stop you from being drafted.
You totally put up with that.
Yeah.
For what he brings offensively.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of draft profiles had him as kind of an underrated player, but he would have been the type of player that he's your classic second rounder, in my opinion. And there's not a whole lot that could change that.
Take a flyer on a undersized guy that can score.
Yep. And then,
see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, that's kind of how Jordan Clarkson got into the league.
Right.
But his athleticism was above average, and he really developed as a scorer once he got to the NBA. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we should have probably talked about Jordan Clarkson and like Jabari Brown as maybe like peer scorers at Mizzou in the last decade or so.
Yeah, I was thinking about them. Even like, Jordan Barnett, Cassius Robertson, Those guys were putting up big numbers.
Yeah,
Just
maybe a little more one-dimensional than Mosley, I would say.
for sure.
Maybe better three-point shooters than Mosley, but not as well-rounded as he is.
Definitely. Yeah, Mosley has the ball handling skills to run the offense.
Sure.
I doubt Missouri puts him in that position a ton. They'll run sets for him, though. I know they will, where
he'll just get ISO.
Yeah, he'll have isolation opportunities for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't see him being like the point guard by any means.
Right. Yeah, at Missouri State, he ran a ton of ISO looks where he would just, like I said, he would just get the ball at the top of the key and go to work.
He was arguably the best isolation player in the country last year.
Probably. And I don't know if we'll see that as much at Mizzou, but I think we'll see some for sure. Why not? Just let him go to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just kind of takes a little while for him to find an angle, but he will find it. He will find a way to beat the defender every time.
Yeah, keeps probing until he's got them in the air or something.
And you said it exactly. Like if he kind of feels like he is stuck, he just finds a way to kind of dribble out of it and reset and start probing again.
Right. And he takes some of those shots that you're like, is this really the best shot we can get? Like a kind of a fadeaway baseline mid-range two. But he's so good with it. He'll switch to his offhand. He'll shoot floaters in the lane with his left hand and make them. He's a gifted scorer. I don't know. I still to this day don't know what teams were not seeing in him out of high school. Because when we watched him play in that state championship game, he looked like a high major player.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I remember thinking he was bigger than I thought he was going to be when we saw him in high school. He's not small. Like I say, he's undersized for NBA guard, wing or something. He's not small at all. He's probably, 6'5"?
Yep. Yeah. He's like it blows my mind that Konzo didn't make him a priority, even a little bit.
Yeah, you got a
hometown kid who's probably like what worst case scenario, he's like a contributor as a junior or senior, off the bench or something.
And you don't burn a bridge with a hometown kid. That's, I don't know. It's easy to say in retrospect, but if there's a guy in the fence in your hometown, like literally in your backyard, I kind of feel like you just take a flyer.
Yeah. I mean, even like the North Carolinas of the world have some guys that could play other places and play more, but they want to represent their hometown school, and they'd sit on the bench for 2 or 3 seasons, hoping they'll be able to contribute some as a senior.
And that's what you
and they're not walk-ons,
right? And that's what you wondered about whenever Mosley was entering the transfer portal, coming back around the second time. Was like, has Missouri kind of just damaged its relationship with him, as a university, as a basketball team? But clearly not. That the coaching staff that maybe he had an issue with, maybe not. I have no idea what his relationship is with Konzo Martin, but
the coaching staff that didn't want him enough,
is gone.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that he was able to completely see that it's a new era, it's a new coaching staff, and that they were able to make that connection.
Give me like 10 seconds on your view as a Missouri State fan.
Oh, well, I grew up in Missouri, in Springfield. I've watched Missouri State since I was a really little kid. So obviously, I follow the team, but I have known since probably 2 seasons ago, Mosley was not going to finish his career at Missouri State. And I was honestly surprised he didn't transfer before this past season. I thought that he definitely could have and probably could have gone anywhere a year ago. And so I was surprised to see him play this season. He was amazing to watch at Missouri State, especially at that level. So, I'm super happy. It was best of both worlds to see him succeed at at both schools that I kind of follow for college basketball.
And you'd be fine with the best player of Missouri State on Missouri State's team every year if they're like high major caliber going to Mizzou.
Oh, of course.
Like every time.
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous to say otherwise, honestly. But it is weird to see.
There's so many Missouri State fans that like don't like Mizzou.
Exactly. That was just about as what I was going to say. It's so weird to, I'm just a Missouri guy. I've lived here my whole life. I root for, obviously Mizzou is our primary team. The flagship of the state. But I like to see Missouri State do well. And, they're a totally different level than Mizzou is on. And there's really no reason to have any ill feelings towards Missouri State as a Mizzou fan, in my opinion. And it has been a little strange seeing Missouri State fans kind of being angry about Isiaih Mosley going to Mizzou. I don't get it at all. And
well, I think some of them got, they felt like Missouri State had the best team in the state of Missouri for a little while.
Last year, it's very possible.
Yeah. And it just takes 1 year of that for some people to just let it go to their heads.
Honestly, St. Louis might have had a bid to be the best team in the state last year.
Right. But if either one of those fan bases feel like they have any claim to that title, they'll just take it and not look back. And then it's like, okay, well, your best player just came to Mizzou, and what are you going to do about it?
Right. Yeah, there's some salt, but get over it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just be happy for him. He's going home. He's gonna be great.
Okay, so one thing worth bringing up here is a tweet from Springfield News Leader. He's the sports.
Wyatt Wheeler.
Yeah, that's it. He's the sports guy for them. He tweeted that Art Haynes reported on his Sports Talk radio show. I'm just going to read Wyatt Wheeler's tweet. Art Haynes reported on Sports Talk, citing sources, that former Missouri State star Isiaih Mosley has a name, image, likeness deal at Mizzou that will pay him $250,000 per year with the use of a house and an automobile.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to compare that to. I haven't heard a lot of NIL public numbers like that, especially in basketball. So I know that he had some NIL opportunities here in Springfield. I would obviously doubt that they came anywhere close to $250,000, but there are rich people everywhere, so I have no idea.
How close do you think that is to being absolutely true? Those details.
I don't know.
I could see Art Haynes' sources being someone kind of close to the Missouri State program that's
being influenced emotionally.
Right. Saying something like, well, we couldn't, they're giving him $250,000 and a house and a car. Like, how are we supposed to compete with that?
Right.
Like, I feel like it could be as little as that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to doubt, somebody like Art Haynes has a lot of credibility in this area. And
I'm sure he was told that. Absolutely.
He's definitely a legend in the Springfield area for sure. So I guess I don't really have any reason to believe it's not true, but it's very possible that there are some emotional reactions happening that are influencing numbers.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week. Eli Drinkwitz was talking about how even the coaches don't always know if these numbers are real or made up or just being leaked for the purposes of influencing people.
Sure. Yeah.
He's
whatever it is, whatever that figure is.
He got a good deal.
I'm sure he's doing just fine.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Missouri's embracing that opportunity.
Definitely.
To get talent in Columbia.
So, give me I'm putting you on the spot here. We can work through it together. What's a starting five looking like? We're still probably looking for a proper big, but that may not be happening. It's getting very late in the process at this point.
Yeah, it kind of seems like everybody we've been involved with has kind of gone elsewhere or stayed at their school.
The Washington State center announced that he's staying. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we were kind of talking about this in our Discord with some of our Patreon guys a couple days ago, and I don't know that there's really any combination that just makes sense for a starting five. I think there's a couple of different ways you could go with it. I kind of find myself gravitating towards maybe who I think are the five best players, the five best offensive players, but it kind of ends up being a little bit of a small lineup. So I guess I'll kind of throw out, let me know what you think of this and see if it's ridiculous. But I have Sean East playing point guard, Demoy Hodge, kind of a 2 shooting guard, Mosley 3, and I think Hodge and Mosley can maybe be interchangeable, kind of the 2-3.
Yeah.
I have Noah Carter maybe playing the 4, and then Kobe Brown at the 5. So that would obviously be a pretty small lineup, and I just don't know what to do with Noah Carter, man. I kind of feel like he's maybe not ready to play the wing, and I might eat those words, but I kind of feel like he's most naturally going to be playing the 4. but that's kind of where Kobe Brown's playing. So, and I don't know who's going to play 5. So I definitely think Kobe is capable of kind of sliding over and playing in that post position, but it might not be ideal.
I think your analysis of Carter is spot on, but I have him more as like the 6th man who can come in and play the 3, 4, or 5 based on foul trouble or needing a different look on offense or the matchups on defense.
Wouldn't be surprised at all.
So yeah, I really think that Sean East and Nick Honor are going to, I think they're going to be really close to playing the same number of minutes on average each game. Their minutes per game are going to be very similar over the course of the season. Whichever one starts more games, who knows? And then I've got Hodge Mosley. I've got Kobe Brown at the 4 and Mo Diarra at the 5. Literally everyone says Mo Diarra is not a 5. He even says he's not the 5.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't care. He's the tallest guy on the team and the most capable shot blocker.
Right.
And I don't care what he does on offense. I bet he jumps center and guards the other team's tallest player.
That's very possible.
Which, in my mind, is the 5.
Yeah, his offensive game is definitely not a traditional big whatsoever, but that doesn't mean that he's not the 5.
Right.
And yeah, I guess maybe that is the best way to look at it. If you're going to assign a number to the 5 starters, is who they guard on defense.
Right.
And maybe that is Mo Diarra for sure.
Yeah, and maybe he, you might be concerned about like him getting out-muscled on the block or something by the other team's 5. But, I mean, was that not going to happen to... Would you not be worried about that a little bit with, like, Brazil? If he's your starting 5? Wouldn't you be like, he could be out-muscled on the block a bit?
Sure, absolutely.
And you would be worried about Noah Carter or Kobe Brown's size.
Yeah, and Diarra's still have 2 or 3 inches on Brazil, probably.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. You could play like 4 out with Kobe as like your post player, and maybe a little bit of like big to big passing action between him and Diarra. If Diarra is kind of like creating on the wing,
right?
Yeah, Kobe in the post.
Does kind of maybe make sense to have Diarra and Kobe Brown and Carter kind of just rotating who's playing in the post, if you want to call it that.
But I think you run sets for Mosley, you let him have some ISO, you get it to Kobe on the block. You don't need to have Kobe initiating offense at the top of the key anymore.
No, I don't think you'll ever see that again.
And you could actually surround Kobe Brown with shooters now.
Yeah.
And he will have options to kick it out for open threes. And DR is one of those guys. He's going to be creating matchup problems.
Yeah, I could actually see Kobe Brown's like productivity numbers, like how many points he's averaging per game, like go down, but his efficiency like skyrocket.
Yeah.
And just kind of picking his spots and being able to exploit matchups and stuff like that.
Yeah. Teams are not going to be able to just kind of focus on him like they used to.
Yeah.
Man, we're gonna actually have a decent offense next year. I feel like we knew before the Mosley edition the defense was going to be solid. And we know Coach Gates coaches solid defense. And they were going to run in transition, which even that is another reason to be excited for Mosley, to see what he can do in a fast-paced offense. Being able to take transition threes or pressure the defense and make a play early in the shot clock. I'm very optimistic now. I mean, obviously, if we had added, what's his name? Sharp. Yeah, the center from Western Kentucky.
Expectations would be pretty high, and they're probably going to be already. So, I mean, that leaves us with one question. Is Missouri going to win the national championship? I'm just kidding.
Probably.
This is a tournament team, right?
Bubble team.
Bubble team?
Yeah. I feel like
51%.
Best case scenario with this roster, if they really come together and make it happen, best case scenario is you're a bubble team, but you're not really sweating it. You're like
top 6, top 7 SEC team.
Yeah. But more realistically, this is a bubble team that you're sweating it a little bit.
Okay. This could be a weird year for the SEC too. Like half the league is a new coach.
Yeah.
A lot of new faces, a lot of new players. Could be an opportunity.
Kentucky's going to be.
I didn't say they're going to win the league, but
yeah.
but Kentucky's going to be
really
great.
Good. Yeah.
And then it's going to be
Arkansas
Kentucky.
is going to be like a complete.
Yeah, it'll be Kentucky and
experiment.
Arkansas and everyone else probably, yeah. But I think Missouri could possibly finish. If things click, I think they could finish as high as 4th or 5th in the conference. Not saying that's going to happen, but I think it's absolutely within the realm of legitimate possibilities. Yeah, Arkansas is an experiment. They have an amazing amount of talent, but who knows how that's going to gel together. Like any team with a bunch of new faces, never know.
What's crazy about the SEC and college basketball in general, but the last few years in SEC, it's like there's 7 teams within a game of each other, right around 500 in conference play. I mean, this past season, there were literally 5 teams that were 9-9, and then a 6th team that was 8-10. So
yeah, Missouri have a couple games go in the win column. They had a few close games that they couldn't close out. They could have very easily been fighting for that 8-10 seed in the SEC tournament. They kind of floundered. I feel like at the end of the year and ended up getting 12th in the SEC. I think.
Yeah, only 5 conference wins.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't impossible for even an incredibly mediocre Missouri team that was challenged in every way possible to finish like middle of the road last year if they had a few more things go their way.
Yeah.
Missouri should be fighting in the top half of the SEC every year.
Every year.
We have not been there.
Man.
We have not been there very often since
Yeah.
we've joined the SEC. But Missouri's a better program than a lot of SEC schools, to be completely honest, traditionally.
Yeah, it's crazy how, I mean, we saw this with with Konzo's departure. The fact that it was up in the air is kind of worrying. The fact that there were so many fans not so much.
There?
Fans were ready to move on.
Okay.
But there were like industry types, writers, other coaches.
Well, yeah, other SEC schools probably want Konzo to stick around. No, I mean,
know.
It's tough to call for somebody's job in an interview situation or a press conference. I mean, how do you say something like, yeah, Konzo, you should probably be fired?
Yeah.
He's a really respectable guy. He just wasn't getting the job done.
I think I'm maybe thinking of one writer in St. Louis in particular that to this day tweets things that are like pro Konzo and like maybe we shouldn't have moved on from him. It's like obviously we're in a new objectively better direction than we were.
You got to get that engagement.
I don't even think it's that. I don't know. I think it's just
maybe we should argue more.
Not paying attention. You and I. That's probably it. This is exciting.
Yeah. Make me happy, make me smile.
Mm-hmm. Let us know your thoughts. Why wasn't he here earlier than this? And what's it going to be like having Isiaih Mosley back with the good guys? And
it's going to be weird seeing him in, not weird, but it'll be interesting to see him in a Mizzou uniform.
Yeah. Man, should have been there all along.
Yeah.
Oh, well. We got him.
We got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
That all for this week?
That's it.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan DeMore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keens, and Tyler Harsel. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, or on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.